How good do you feel like you are with your boundaries? You might think you know, and you might be right, or you might be wrong. I thought I had excellent boundaries. And I remember I was talking to my sister one day about a situation I'd got in with someone, and I was feeling frustrated, and I was explaining what was happening. And she said to me, Sarah, your idea of boundaries sounds like the exact opposite of boundaries. And it really made me rethink, like, did I actually have healthy boundaries? Today, we're talking about pushers. Pushers are people who want you to do what they're doing, or they want you to do something they're offering you. They could be pushing food, they could be pushing alcohol, substances, activities, they could be pushing something, but they're people who are basically pushing your boundary. So we're going to learn about how to recognize pushers, how to understand what they actually want, how to respond to them in a way so that you can create healthy boundaries and stop feeling triggered by situations that might be more in your control than you would think. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here and pull this up. All right, here we go. So here's a couple questions to ask yourself to get an idea of how strong your boundaries are. Do you often feel like people are taking advantage of you? Do you feel guilt turning down a request? Are you afraid of disappointing other people? Do you tend to overshare? If someone asks you a question, do you give them too much information? Do you struggle with that two-letter word, no? Is it hard for you to physically say the word? Do you worry that you're going to be rejected or abandoned if other people don't think a certain way of you? Does it feel selfish for you to do what's best for you? Do you blame other people for things that you can't actually control? Do you feel like you're manipulated by other people? And do you feel dependent on other people to feel worthy? If you're answering yes to a couple of these, you might have a boundary issue, and it might manifest in feeling like there are pushers in your life who are making your life a little more difficult. So there's two different types of pushers. There's pushers in all different situations. A really common thing are maybe food or drink pushers. In this situation, I just call it social glue. So a lot of the times, these people are literally just using a substance, a food, as a way to create a social interaction. It's kind of a little bit of a social contract. You walk into a party, hey, welcome, come get some food. Hey, welcome, let me get you a drink. It's a way to just literally start the social interactions going. It has nothing to do with anything emotional. Sometimes it does, though. Sometimes people are pushing something because it is emotionally connective or important to them. Let's say your grandma made some very fabulous pie that she really wants you to have. Hey, have this pie. I made it for you. Her love language is maybe it's cooking, maybe it's gifts, maybe it's service. So it's there to help you understand that this person cares about you, that they love you, that they want you to be happy. A lot of pushers are just natural nurturers. They're great people and they really want to connect with you. But sometimes there are negative pushers too. Sometimes negative pushers feel a little threatened if other people aren't validating their same choices. And so a negative pusher might be someone who's off in a corner, maybe doing a substance that they might feel a little guilty about, but they're going to feel better if other people join them in and validate their choice. Sometimes a negative pusher see you making those changes, and it makes them remember that they maybe want to make those changes too, but they're not ready, and it threatens them. And so they feel like if they can keep other people from making those changes, they won't need to make them either. Or sometimes they don't want you to change. They know you as you are. They trust you as you are. And even if you're trying to make a positive change, some people see change as a threat and they want to stop that in any possible way. Sometimes there's an even darker side to this, and there are people who truly just want to control you because they want control. This can get really dark. Sometimes you see it in relationships. Be really wary of these negative type of pushers, and I would recommend you don't want these people in your life in any way, shape, or form, but they are out there. So there's lots of different reasons that people push, habits, behaviors, but think about the disappointment scale. Anytime that you enforce a boundary, there's going to be a disappointment, either on your side or on their side. The disappointment of a pusher when you enforce a boundary is usually pretty typically mild. Maybe it lasts a second. Maybe they didn't even have a disappointment. Maybe it's a little more of like, oh, I made that cake and they didn't want it, and wow, and they feel a little bruised ego. Maybe they feel temporarily disconnected because they thought they were going to do something with you and they weren't able to have that connection. So you changed their expectation, and that's a little bit of a disappointment. However, your disappointment is also just as valid. And for me, I say my disappointment is the trump card here. I get to enforce my own boundaries. I know for me, If there's a certain kind of drink that I have, I'm probably going to drink more. I'm probably going to stay up later than I want. I probably am not going to feel like going to the gym the next day. I'm probably going to have a fuzzy brain the next morning. That disappointment is way bigger than their temporary bruised ego. I might feel out of control. I know that certain foods are triggering to me. And if I eat them, I know that I'm going to eat the entire plate and feel out of control and have lower self-esteem. I might backslide. I've worked really, really hard to enforce healthy habits. And if I start letting my boundaries go now, I don't want to go back to where I was. I don't want to suffer from the feeling of my ego being like, I knew it, you couldn't do it. So anytime you enforce a boundary, there will be a disappointment, and it's okay to prioritize your own disappointment over someone else's. So when a pusher comes to us, here's some helpful replies and tips of what you can do to actually enforce your boundary. The first thing is, before you even open your mouth, think about your posture. If someone offers you something or wants you to do something with them and your reply is, well, no, and you kind of get small and you look down and you don't sound sure, they're going to see that as a weak boundary and they're going to come again. And they're going to try to, again, push this activity or food. So when someone comes to you to push a boundary, stand up straight, look them in the eye, and just have a smile and like, no, thank you. And sound confident. There's no crack there. Make sure that your confidence and posture matches your boundary. And in 9 out of 10 cases, a quick no thank you truly does enough. For all of us who've been oversharers in the past, you don't have to get into it. You don't have to explain. No thank you really does work. And if they offer again, say it a second time. No thank you. And if they don't hear you after that second no thank you, here's some other things we can try. I love the love sandwich method. Basically, we want to, first of all, there's all these different reasons that people are pushing, and a lot of times it has nothing to do with the substance and a lot more to do with validation. But we want to give them this love sandwich to really help them understand. Hey, Grandma, thank you so much. Those cookies look amazing. You're such an amazing chef. I'm not really hungry right now, so I'm going to pass, but I so appreciate that you made those for this group. We're so lucky to have you here. You hear how I did that love sandwich? And it doesn't even feel like a rejection, right? But some other things you can say, in that situation, I said, I'm not going to have any right now. You can also just say it doesn't agree with me. No one's going to make you eat something if you've just literally told them it makes you feel sick. This is another really great deflection one. That looks amazing. I'm going to grab some for later. Thank you so much for bringing it. This one does not feel like a rejection at all, because you're saying how great they are. You're saying you're going to take some for later. You're validating them. And then whether or not you even eat it later, whether it goes straight in the trash, whether you even take it in that moment, they're not going to notice. You're fulfilling this connection of them looking for validation, creating a conversation. I'm not hungry right now. That's another great one with food. Or, for substances, when people offer me a cigarette, I'll just literally tell them, oh, those really hurt my lungs. They do. Like, I don't like how they make me feel. No, thank you. If that doesn't work, I really don't like how that makes my lungs feel. Or here's another one you can kind of fudge a little bit. Let's say someone offers me a deep fried Oreo. I'll look at it. And if for some reason I don't want to use all these other things, I can be like, I already had some. It was great. Maybe I had it 2 years ago at a county fair and I've been regretting it ever since. But hey, I had some, it was great, and you move on. Then after we do all of this, change the subject. So if you've enforced a boundary, you want to change the subject right away. So no, thank you. Hey, how are you doing? I saw you in on that trip on Facebook. That looked amazing. But again, if you're changing the subject and they keep going back to it and keep wanting you to do this thing or consume something, you literally can just excuse yourself. Some people get hooked up on an idea for some reason, and you can just get out of the situation. So, hey, it was really good to see you. I'm going to go say hi to the host for a moment, and I'll catch up with you later. Just get out of that situation. Now, a trigger word for those of you who are avoiding food pushers or substance pushers is the D word. Don't say diet. It is opening yourself up to a whole conversation of them wanting even more information about your boundary. I would avoid it altogether. So what you definitely do not want to say is, I can't, I'm on a diet. I can't, I'm, trying to do this. Just try to avoid that altogether. You really just want to focus on the positive and focus on what you can do and what you're excited about. Now, in these situations, knowing that food pushes are going to be there, we can't control them. We can't control what we do, though. So I really like to always just have something in my hand in social situations so that people aren't looking at me and saying, oh, I want to hang out with Sarah. What's a way I can create a conversation with her? Maybe I'll offer her some food. Maybe I'll offer her this, thing to smoke. If I already have something in my hand, then maybe the conversation is going to be a little different. I always offer to bring something when I go to a party. I have my little cans of seltzer waters that I bring with me everywhere. I have a little tote and I just bring it so that I, for sure know what I can have when I get there. I love having these because it looks like whatever it wants to be and I'm taking care of myself. As much as possible, know what to expect when you walk into a situation. So who's going to be there? What type of food are they going to have? Maybe you've brought some of your own stuff that you can control, but have a plan in place before you go into the situation. And then focus so much more on what you can do than what you can't. Your brain, no matter where you put the energy, it's going to focus on that thing. So if you're so much more focused on what you can't do, guess what? Your brain will actually be more likely to want to do that thing. So focus on what you can do. You can have amazing conversations. You can catch up with someone that you haven't seen in a while. You can have a healthy drink. You can give yourself a healthy bedtime and leave at a certain time. And then look for other people in this situations who might not also be partaking of a triggering substance. So if you're trying to give up smoking, you're probably not going to spend the whole time out on the patio with the smokers. They're going to be coming in and out and you'll see them when you see them, but look for people who maybe aren't as triggering to you. And then again, keep the conversation topic as far away from possible as the substance or situation that you're trying to avoid. All right. So remember, there's only so much we can control here. You can control your actions, your emotions, your reactions, what you're putting in and out of your body. You cannot control how other people are showing up, what other people are doing, what they're offering you. Your anxiety will start to increase as you're focusing more and more on what is not in your control. So really focus it in on this tighter circle. And as you start to enforce these healthy boundaries, you're going to start realizing you see less and less pushers around you. Because if you're noticing a lot of pushers, it's actually also a sign that you might have weaker boundaries. The stronger your boundaries get, the less pushers stand out to you and the more normal it feels just to enforce a healthy boundary, and you don't feel as put upon, you don't feel as manipulated. And so when we experience pushers, these are just people who have another motive. Maybe again, it's a social glue, it's a validation, it's attempt to, change or to not to change. The more we can see the intent behind the push or the offer, the more we can understand these people and have a more beneficial interaction. So thank you so much. There's a really helpful worksheet that goes along with this lesson. I've linked it. Go ahead and print it out. It's going to help you run through and just flesh out some strategies for what we learned about today. And if you would like more intense individual coaching, I do offer private and group coaching. You can see more at www.sarahstar.com. I love helping people implement healthy habits. I love giving them accountability, action steps, and just focus so that you really can move through and start building the life and health that you deserve. Thank you so much. Bye.